Hello there, everybody. Welcome to today's video. I'm Bass Fox, and I'm trying a couple new things today. One of them is this 360 degrees camera that should be recording my entire studio so that I can, with the single camera, have shots of my face, myself playing, and as well as the pedals here on the floor. And I'm also debuting a new bass. This is the G&L L1000 CLF design. It's one of Leo Fender's last designs for bass guitars. People call it the 1K bass. It's from the 1980, more or less. And it's got one of those nice Stingray style humbuckers, but in the P bass position. So it's kind of like a Stingray P bass cross, right? And it's wonderful, it's beautiful. Look at this finish. I'm so in love with this bass. And anyway, I'm using this for today's video. A friend of the channel, Roy Colquitt, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Roy, correct me if I'm wrong. He saw my synthesizer sound design, bass synth sound design videos, and asked me if I could help him find the settings on the Anagram for the Aha song Take On Me. So I went to listen to it, and it's actually a synthesizer. And not only is it a synthesizer, it's a digital synthesizer. It's a DX7 trying to sound like slap bass. So it's a digital synthesizer slap bass patch, what's being played on that song. And it sounds very different from an electric bass, right? So I thought, well, this is a cool opportunity to install the new firmware on my Future Impact V4 and use its MIDI, pitch-to-MIDI capabilities to control an external synthesizer that might have a similar sound to that. I don't have a DX7. The Yamaha synth I have is an TG33, which is already a different technology. It's not an FM synth. The Blofeld, on the other hand, is a more modern digital synthesizer, which does have some FM capabilities, I think. However, I didn't get deep into designing sound on it. I just looked through the bass presets and found one that I like. It's not exactly the same one, but actually it's a little bit better. That DX7 slap bass sound is real cheesy. So if I were playing in a band today and covering that song, I wouldn't go for complete authenticity. I would go for a really cool synth bass sound that would fulfill that role while sounding even cooler, even better than the original. However, if you want to go fully original, you can do it by finding either some kind of digital emulation of the DX7 that has that preset, maybe the Native Instruments one or the Arturia one, and just control that with some kind of pitch to MIDI, right? You can actually install like a Roland pickup on your bass in conjunction with a particular pedal they make. You can generate MIDI that way. The pedal itself probably has a close enough sound to that. The Future Impact itself has some really cool presets that might work. So if I were doing this live, I might just go for trying to design it on the Future Impact. Even though it's the digital synth in there, the architecture is really subtractive. It's really based off of analog synths. So it doesn't really do that DX7 FM slap bass sound. So I did three things, right? I tried the Blofeld with the Future Impact as the pitch to MIDI converter so that we're actually playing a digital synthesizer with the bass being the controller, right? Then I tried some Future Impact sounds themselves to simplify things. And then finally I thought, what's really practical, and the question was how to do it on the Anagram. The Anagram doesn't have a proper synthesizer. You can emulate a synthesizer with some methods that I've described. Today we're going to try something different. I'm going to basically, if it's a synthesizer trying to sound like slap bass, what you can do is play slap bass and process that sound in such a way to make it sound kind of digital synth like. That's also something that would be super valid in a cover band scenario. Let's first check out the digital synthesizer, then we'll check out the Future Impact, and then finally I'll show you how I made my Aha Bass Fox preset for the Anagram. So I'm actually plugged into the Anagram, and the send from the Anagram is going into the Future Impact. So I definitely need to create a send here. All right, and I'll put that right after the noise gate. Right? So that's enough. Let's save that actually. All right, so now that sound is making it there to the Future Impact. Let's just turn on the output here on the Anagram preset. That way we're only hearing the Blofeld synthesizer being controlled by the Future Impact V4, which is converting the notes I play into MIDI. So notice that I put a mute here on the bridge of my GNL bass, because the challenge here with this setup is articulate your playing so that you're playing very short notes. You're sending MIDI note off message. Otherwise, if you don't send that MIDI note off message and you change the note, it goes legato. It means the Future Impact itself changes to a different note without re-triggering it, so you don't get the attack of the Blofeld synthesizer. So you have to play super short notes. If you play the long notes and then you change, like hammer on, nothing happens, right? If I'm still playing that low octave and then I hit the top one, doesn't re-trigger, or if it does, it re-triggers the same note. So in order to play octaves, you have to articulate your notes really short. It's super difficult to articulate it. This is the reason why I don't recommend this setup, actually. Maybe in the studio where you can have the luxury of editing your MIDI. But honestly, even in the studio, I play keyboard. I would just do this with a keyboard, right? But if you're in a band scenario, you're not carrying a synth bass keyboard with you, and you want to get a synth kind of a sound, you can do it this way, like a digital synth kind of a sound. You can do it this way. Let's go to the Future Impact now. Turn down the volume on the Blofeld. We don't hear anything now, right? And if I turn up the volume output level on the Future Impact itself, now you can notice immediately the articulation is much better, right? The Future Impact is not internally, it's not converting what you play to MIDI and then reading that MIDI and interpreting and turning it back into notes. It's skipping that step, right? I'm guessing that the designer, Andre, simply created a direct communication between the pitch detection that's going on in there and the control of the synthesizer. It's not going through MIDI. I know that especially because when I play fretless, for example, it's picking up every single slide and glide that I do. And then as an additional feature, it does its best to convert that information into MIDI and send it out, spit it out of the MIDI output to control an external synthesizer. But it's never going to be as quick, latency-free, responsive, accurate as far as articulation goes as when you use the internal synthesizer of the Future Impact V4. So that's probably a better idea, to try to find a patch in there that works for the song and use this pedal for that, right? So that's option number 2, right? The Blofeld or any digital synthesizer controlled via Pitch-to-MIDI, I consider that the third option, the less than ideal, but possibly more true to the original. I like this already. So already it's not doing those skipping notes, it's not misreading the note. And it reads my quick articulations. let's go through some of these presets and see if we... This one could be... Actually, I might not need the mute now. You see? It actually reads your... It reads my glissandi, hammer-ons, everything. Even my vibrato, check it out. Picks it up. Bends. Amazing. The Future Impact by itself, without controlling an external MIDI, is probably the best middle ground between being able to properly articulate and play the bass and not worry about things getting weird when you're live. And it's a synthesizer, a true synthesizer. It doesn't have the capability to do an accurate reproduction of that particular Aha song, but it does the job of a bass synth. It's digital. It can get fairly digitally sounding, even though the architecture is based off of analog subtractive synthesis. But yeah, that's probably the best idea right there. Now, let me turn this down and we'll turn the anagram on. So I made this sound to try to play, thinking about like reverse engineering, going the opposite direction. Instead of having a digital FM synthesizer trying to sound like a slapped bass guitar, right, which you can't do. It's not sample based, so it can get like, it can sound similar kind of, but it doesn't quite do the job, right? So it's gonna sound like a synth slap bass preset, not a slapped bass, right? So the opposite way would be to slap the bass and then treat it in such a way, try to make it sound synthetic. Let me just go back to the saved preset, right? So that's this over here, Aha Bass Fox. You can find it on the Darkglass suite online. What it is basically, I always start with a noise suppressor, especially in this case. You really want it very clean. You don't want to hear like extraneous string noise or anything, because all of that will give it away that it's a real bass. You want it to be, in fact, I probably set the noise suppressor a little higher than usual. Set that threshold really high, right? So that it really only makes a sound when you hit it hard, when you hit your bass hard. Then it goes through, you know, just some conditioning. So this is the gentle here. And this bass is very bassy, so I can probably turn that bass a little bit down. Then we have a limiter, right? Because again, we want that synthesizer would have very flat dynamics. It's just don don ging gang gong gang gang gong. It's just always the same loudness. So a limiter will help us keep our dynamics very steady, very constant, right? Then I use the harmonic booster, which I really like. I have a character all the way up, and this is just part of my experimentation, tone shaping, to try to give this sound more of a synthetic feel, right? And then I have a little bit chorus. It's very common for synthesizers back in the day to use the famous Juno 106, for example, has a very nice chorus. The chorus would help this mono synthesizer have more of a field, right? Open it up in stereo and stuff. So we can actually make this a stereo chorus. And then I have a little bit of an envelope filter. See, the cutoff frequency is way high, so it's really not, and the sensitivity is way low. So it's subtle. It's not really going quang, quang, quang. It's not trying to do the funky, like auto-wah kind of a sound. But it's there to add a little bit of that synthesizer-y feel to the sound, right? So this is what this sounds like. Maybe you can find like a sweet spot with the volume too. This is very hot bass. It's a little hard to do the double pluck, right? You can use 2 fingers. Or just quick with 1. Maybe the Stingray is a good bass for this. Let's try it. The Stingray is the notorious slap machine. Right, I think the Stingray is definitely a better fit than the L1000 for this. It's just got that clean slap. Gets us even closer to that kind of synthetic slap sound, right? So let's try it again. Right? So cool. This is going to be a series, I think. I've been getting some requests. Some people have noticed that I can do some pretty decent sound design in the Anagram, and they're asking, oh, can you do the Tim Comerford, for example? So that's the next video. I'm going to make my take on using the Anagram to emulate Tim Comerford's tone, which obviously isn't just one tone. He played many basses, with many amps and many bands, with many songs over the years, and it doesn't stick to just one sound, right? But we're going to get the basic idea, the basic gist of his main philosophy when it comes to tone. And spoiler alert, that's going to involve the Stingray, and it's a pretty heavy fingerstyle playing, and that's most of it. But we're going to look into what goes into the sound design as well. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit like, subscribe, and comment below. Let's help this channel grow. Feel the vibration. I've been Bass Fox. See you soon.